Are we not ready yet?
That's the timer. We have 17 seconds. We got somebody watching. They know.
Oh, we're live. We're live.
Oh, yeah, we're live. That's how we do. Got 8 seconds.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are listening to us right now, whether that is on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to episode 21 of Cover Your Balls. I'm Mitch Balla.
I'm Jordan McKelly.
And we are your hosts, and we have what we think is a phenomenal show for you guys today. And Jordan, I'm pretty excited. We got a very special guest coming on today, and a lot to talk about.
Oh, lots to talk about. Special guest, like you said, it might be one of our best guests yet. Really looking forward to that. And we're changing the balls a little today, Mitch. We're changing the balls.
The balls are being changed. But before we tell you why they're being changed and how we're going to cover all your balls, it's 4 o'clock, a little after 4 o'clock. So it's time for our top 4 at 4, Jordan. And today,
Boom.
It is your top 4 candy bars. Jordan, take it away.
Oh, man, top 4 candy bars. People are going to hate me for this because I'm a huge Reese's fan, but I'm also one of the pickiest. I'm the guy who, if you open a candy bar and it's smashed, Mitch, I'm that guy. Because I know how the candy bar is going to taste before I even eat it. I already know if it's going to be good. Sounds crazy, I know, but I'm that asshole in the store.
Not crazy.
Top 4 for 4. Number 4, I have a Snickers. You know, sometimes I'm not the nicest guy, and so I try to eat as many Snickers as I can. At number 3, I have a Reese's Fast Break. Started eating them in elementary school. My grandma Emma started giving them to me. Yeah, it was great. Big fan. Number 2, Reese's Sticks, Mitch. We're going to stick in the Reese's category for another one. And at number 1, everybody knows how good Reese's eggs are around Easter. They're so good that now they have Reese's Trees, Reese's Hearts, and Reese's Pumpkins. That's how good Reese's eggs were, Mitch. They're still good to this day, and they're typically gone by the time I leave the parking lot of the store after I buy them. I'm pretty disgusting. That's not even a lie.
I wouldn't be disgusted because I think that's what you're supposed to do. Aren't you supposed to buy enough to eat in the parking lot and then eat one at home too? Or have I been doing it wrong the entire time?
The whole time. You got to eat them all before you get home.
Damn. Well, that makes sense. But Jordan, that's a phenomenal list. See, I think people are going to hate me for my list, actually. I think a lot of people are going to agree with your top 4 at 4. So let's start at number 4, which my grandmother put me onto. A Heath bar, Jordan. A very underrated candy bar, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. But a Heath bar for me goes a long way. Wow. At number 3, a Kit Kat. A Kit Kat is just a great candy bar, in my opinion. One of the best. It's like one of those drinks, just refreshing. A Kit Kat's a refreshing candy bar. Right. At number 2, Butterfinger. Butterfinger has always been. Butterfinger has always been one of my favorite candy bars. Every time it was Halloween, I would trade any of my friends for Butterfingers. Just my favorite candy bar growing up. But Jordan, not my all-time favorite. And my all-time favorite, you put me onto. Because you were the Reese's Stick man when you came over here when you were younger and I was little.
Oh, yeah.
And Reese's Sticks are the best candy bar, in my opinion.
Oh, my God. They're unbelievable. And we have Tyler coming in with a comment. I don't know if you saw that. He said Carmelo. That was one of my honorable mention candy bars, Mitch. It didn't quite get in for me.
One of my honorable mentions was Twix, Jordan. I used to be a huge Twix fan.
I'm not a Twix fan. I don't know what it is about them. I'm not a Twix fan, though.
Well, you see, the one candy bar I couldn't get over? Or I never understood was a Three Musketeer. I was never a Three Musketeer guy.
It was okay at best. It wasn't great.
Right.
I remember when I used to go to this place called the Jewish Center when I was little, like every single day of my life for like 8 years in a row. And I would even eat, if that was the last thing in the vending machine, and it was that type of vending machine that they didn't restock like every week. So it would go down to like the final 2 items, and I would buy it. It's okay. If you need it, you need it.
Right. Last resort type of thing. And trust me. I've eaten plenty of them before too, even if I don't like them, because I'm a sweet guy.
Mm-hmm. You are a sweet guy.
But thank you. I try. But Jordan, enough about candy. Let's get to what we're here for, and that's covering people's balls. They're sports balls.
Oh, we're covering balls.
And we're going to take a different turn. Usually halfway through the show, we have my headlines, Jordan, but with our guest today and what we had to talk about today, we are going to start with my headlines to start the show.
Let's roll it. This is my favorite. This might be my favorite segment, Mitch.
Well, let's just start with the big news of the day. Deshaun Watson, current quarterback of the Houston Texans, and I said current because he won't be current much longer, officially publicly requested a trade today from the Texans, Jordan. One, how do you feel about him coming out requesting this a night after they named their head coach? And two, where is he going to go?
Seems pretty vindictive to me. It seems like Deshaun Watson made up his mind about who he wanted to be the coach, and if it wasn't going to be who he wanted it to be, he was going to be out of there. The more interesting part about this, Mitch, is where's Deshaun Watson going? I feel like I have a pretty good grip on where he's going. I think he's going to be a Jackson Jaguar. Urban Meyer would prefer to start with a veteran quarterback as opposed to a rookie quarterback. And let's be honest, even if Trevor Lawrence is a really good to great quarterback, that's about where Deshaun Watson is. So I think it's going to work out for both parties, but I think Deshaun Watson is going to be the grass isn't always greener, and I think he had it pretty well and pretty good in Houston. And the owner, he owns the team, he gets to make his own decisions. So the fact that he didn't consult you on a decision, even if he said he was going to, let's be honest here, this isn't the NBA. I don't like players pushing around, you know what I mean, and pushing themselves out of bad scenarios. I hate that. So I think this is going to be a good thing for all parties, and both teams get a new start.
I agree. And whether it's in Jacksonville or not, which, friend of the show, Mitch Farnsworth, texted me that today and brought that to my attention. You and I talked about it before we came on the air. We hadn't talked about it, knowing we both knew about it, that it would be a good fit because Jacksonville gets to jumpstart their restart, which they're essentially doing down there in Jacksonville, Florida. And Houston then would get the quarterback of the future to build their team around with a new head coach. However, according to my source, the New York Jets, the Chicago Bears, and the Carolina Panthers have already called the Houston Texans inquiring about Deshaun Watson. One, I think it's hilarious that the Bears already have, considering they had an opportunity to draft him. Instead took Mitch Trubisky. You know how that one's worked out so far. Yeah. The Panthers just signed Teddy Bridgewater to that 3-year deal, I believe, but a pretty nice size contract last year. And then we know $21 million. We know what the Jets are. They need a quarterback because Sam Darnold isn't the answer. But Jordan, I just don't understand. If Deshaun Watson didn't want to be there, why did he sign the big contract? And for everybody out there that doesn't know, well, they traded Hopkins. They traded DeAndre Hopkins March 16th of 2020. Deshaun Watson signed his contract extension September 4th/5th of 2020, which is also after the time frame he would have seen what the Texans had done to add to the team. So if Deshaun Watson didn't want to be there, he would have known before the season started, a week after those dates that he signed. So is he in it for the money, Jordan?
I think he's in it for the pride. I think he's having a real tough time not have. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm seeing all of my peers, like guys my age and guys my status in the NBA, pushing them, getting to choose where they get to play. And I imagine that has, some weight on the situation for Deshaun Watson. That has to be in the back of his mind. Why in the NBA, why do great players get to pick and choose where they want to play? But in football, we can't. And I think his pride's hurt. And Cal McNair came out and had a public apology. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense if I'm Deshaun Watson. I feel like he's going to get less respect in the NFL because of that, not more respect. I think the players are actually going to pay for this, honestly, because I don't think the NFL is ever going to have mobility. So I think he's in it just because his pride's hurt.
And I think a big factor, the difference between the NBA and the NFL, one player can completely change the outlook of a game in the NBA, right? LeBron James can play both sides. Deshaun Watson's only playing offense, and no matter who it is, NBA players can do what they've done, and we've seen it now for years. Probably since 2010 when LeBron left and went to Miami. We've seen players now force their way out of certain situations to go somewhere. Deshaun Watson tell me what you're getting out of this if you force your way to the New York Jets, Jordan, because rumors are the Texans want 4 first-round picks. That's a lot.
They're
The
not
Jets
gonna
have
get that from anybody.
2 first-round picks this year. The Jets have a first-round pick next year. What is the difference between the New York Jets and the Houston Texans if Deshaun Watson forces his way to the Jets that have to give up 3 first-round picks? Can you tell me what the difference is?
Tell me, Mitch. What's the difference?
I'm asking you because there isn't a difference because the Jets, it'll be the same situation. A bad defense, no weapons, and then no draft capital in the first round to go get what you need to do or surround Watson with. So I don't know what Deshaun Watson's doing. I agree. I think that his pride is hurt, and I just don't know. I haven't heard of Aaron Rodgers. I haven't heard of the great quarterbacks in our lives, even Peyton Manning and guys that have retired, demanding they get a say in the GM and the coach. It's just, I don't know what, if Deshaun Watson's trying to set a new standard or what, but to me, it's mind-boggling. But I think we're both on the same page that Jacksonville makes the most sense, and people aren't talking about it.
Oh, no, they're not talking about it at all. It's sneaky. I'm going to break that story, Mitch.
You will. You can break that story. We kind of did.
I'm going to break it.
So when people want to come back and they'll realize that we broke it on Thursday, January 28th, 2021, and they'll see that. But Jordan, moving on, let's go and stay in the NFL. We'll stay in the AFC where the Steelers did say today they want Ben Roethlisberger to return, but cap hit is an issue. So for everybody out there thinking the Steelers are going to go after Deshaun Watson, for everyone thinking the Steelers are going to go after Matt Stafford, or if Aaron Rodgers did one out of Green Bay, which we're going to clarify that here in a second, the Steelers can't because they have a cap issue, Jordan. They're more than likely going to lose some key defenders or offensive weapons in free agency. Are the Steelers done? I mean, let's just ask that question. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers done, whether they bring Ben Roethlisberger back or not?
Yeah, I think their Super Bowl window, if we assessed everybody's Super Bowl window as a team, I think their window right now is closed. I think it's absolutely closed. I'm sure Steelers fans think that the window's still open. I don't believe it is. Honest to God, you can't be excited if I'm a Steelers fan. I can't be excited about next season. I have the 4th best quarterback in the division. Ben Roethlisberger is the 4th best quarterback. He's not better than Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow at this point.
And that's not a shot. Big Ben's Big Ben is an all-time great. He will be in Canton, Ohio. We're not disagreeing with that. We're just saying how it is. Eventually, players' time runs out. Tom Brady, it doesn't, like you said a couple weeks ago, looks like he's going to play till the year 3000 at this rate, and it looks like LeBron James is going to play for God knows how long. But most of the time, players' time runs out, and that's all that's happening right now. It's not a shot at Big Ben, but you said it. He is the 4th best quarterback in the AFC North when Joe Burrow is healthy. We have to see how he comes back off the torn ACL, but I think the Steelers are in trouble here because you can't just send your quarterback packing that's gotten you 2 Super Bowl championships and has set all your franchise's records, is a Hall of Famer, but if he comes back, that's $40+ million. And then you're going to lose. I mean, Bud Dupree's a free agent. I believe Juju Smith-Schuster's a free agent. You're not going to be able to bring back all these other players. So
you're not.
I think the Steelers are in trouble right now.
I hate to see it. Absolutely hate to see it.
Don't lie. Our listeners don't like liars.
I just hate to see it.
Oh, okay. As you have Brownie the Elf behind you?
Oh,
Browns aren't in trouble, though. That's a nice thing. A team that people thought may be in trouble is the Green Bay Packers after Aaron Rodgers' comments post-game Sunday after his 31-26 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship. Jordan, Rodgers since has clarified those comments on the Pat McAfee show, saying that he knows that he doesn't control his future, which is true, but ultimately saying he's going to be back in Green Bay. He just doesn't know what's going to be around them. A lot of people think he said what he said to put pressure on the front office to go out and, 1, probably not draft another quarterback in the first round, and 2, do what they need to do to win the big game that they have not won 4 straight times, and that's the NFC Championship. What do you expect? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers next year?
I think Aaron Rodgers will 100% be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers next year. He's not going to force his way out of Green Bay. The only way he could possibly force his way out of Green Bay is if the Green Bay Packers fail to draft, like fail to attempt to draft players on the offensive side of the ball that can help him. Or, honest to God, even the defensive side of the ball. But what you don't want to do is address the quarterback position again. Their first round draft pick, Mitch, didn't even play last year.
Wasn't even their backup.
So if we're thinking that Aaron Rodgers wants to put pressure on the Packers, the pressure should have already been on the Green Bay Packers. It shouldn't have got to this point to where, Aaron Rodgers is putting pressure on the organization. No, do your job and surround maybe the greatest quarterback of all time with more weapons. Like, it's not just... I feel like when we get to the NFC title games, it is just Aaron Rodgers sometimes. And it's not, he hasn't been great in all of them, honest to God. A couple of them, his first one, he wasn't good at all. But you need help. You need complementary football. And they just don't have that one playmaker. Like, you need somebody outside of Devontae Adams. You know what I mean? You just can't have one guy.
I guess we're going to have to see what they do. There's plenty of people in free agency, plenty of, there's plenty of wide receivers coming out in the NFL draft this year, but the Packers, as we know, have a late first round pick. We'll have to see what they do. But as for me, I think Aaron Rodgers will be a Green Bay Packer. I think he startled everybody Sunday, but as you and I know, and as most people that have ever played a sport know, when you play a game of high intensity, no matter what it is, even if it's Connect Four sometimes, I mean, hey, sometimes you just get stopped in Connect Four and you get really pissed. But you say things just in the heat of the moment. And maybe Aaron Rodgers did that unintentionally or intentionally, we'll never know. But I believe that's what happened. Aaron Rodgers was frustrated, made a comment about his future and other players' futures. The only player's future that should really be uncertain or, as we know, not returning Green Bay is Kevin King, the cornerback. He can't guard anything. No. So he probably should never return. Maybe that's what Aaron Rodgers meant. Maybe Aaron Rodgers meant Kevin King should never be back for the Green Bay Packers, because
that could be it.
Just shouldn't. Jordan, one last football thing before we move to basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We know who's in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, but we might have two of the fastest wide receivers in all of sports in Tyreek Hill and Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller coming out saying he's faster than Tyreek Hill. Jordan, I will let the runner himself and you discuss why Scotty Miller is not faster than Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. He's not even close. It's really not close. So Scotty Miller is a 10.53 guy in the 100 meters. That's really fast. That's really fast. But Tyreek Hill could be a professional runner. Like 6 years ago or 7 years ago on the track, he went 9.92. He went sub 10 in the 100. And I know a lot of people are looking at Scotty Miller's anchor leg of his 4x1 and saying, well, it was under 10. And let me explain something to you guys. You cannot take splits in the 4x1. That's not how this works. You can barely take splits in the 4x2. So you can't compare him at all. His time is 0.6 hundredths of a second off from the 4x1 anchor leg to his just straight 100-meter dash time. So he's not even close as fast as Tyreek Hill. Not even close. But, he wasn't a cocky asshole about it when they asked him.
Right.
He just takes pride in his speed. I respect that. Yeah, that's the kind of guy I want on my team. I don't want somebody coming on and saying, hey, that guy's faster than me. I'm just not as fast as him. I don't want that. He's fast enough that he can say something like that and get away with it.
Right. And I just wanted to make sure, it's low-key blowing up on social media. You've seen now the videos of Scotty Miller come out of him in either high school or college running, and he's very fast. But I figured there was nobody else better to put that to rest and explain it than you yourself, Jordan. And that's why I just threw it over to you. I ooped it to you, and you dunked it. And because of that, we're going to move to the NBA now, where quickly the Cleveland Cavaliers got back on track last night after knocking off the Pistons 122-107, moving back to 500 at 9-9. Jordan, Andre Drummond has been balling, may get traded. All-star voting open today. Do the Cavs have one all-star, two all-stars, or no all-stars, in your opinion?
Ooh. I'm going to say the Cavs are going to have two all-stars. I'm going to say Sexton ends up being an all-star. I'm going to say Drummond ends up being an all-star. Those are my two guys. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. I think they both deserve to be an all-star. I think Andre Drummond, no doubt, will be an all-star. The question is, the game still has not been confirmed to happen. The NBA players are open to it, but Andre Drummond, no doubt, is an all-star. There's a reason that everybody is intrigued by him right now in trade rumors. And more than likely why Cleveland is going to trade him is because he's going to bring back a high package or a big package in return. Colin Sexton is balling. 29 points last night, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. This is his third year, and he's really come into his own. I think he's an all-star as well, Jordan. I think it would be very unfortunate if Colin Sexton did not make the all-star game or was voted to an all-star game, even if it doesn't happen. But I definitely think those two are in there. Somebody else that you can just pencil in as an all-star game starter, probably another record in the NBA, would be LeBron James of the Lakers. The Lakers lost their first road game of the night last night, Jordan, in Philly by a score of 107-106. But besides the final score, Jordan, things got interesting in the game when LeBron James was called for a flagrant 1 foul on Joel Embiid, which resulted in Embiid crashing to the floor, showing pain in his back. Embiid later came out and said it was a dirty play by LeBron. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm assuming you have. Yeah. Was it a dirty play by LeBron James?
I don't think it was a dirty play at all. I mean, I think that was LeBron's first flagrant since 2014, I think. Is that what it was? 2014, 2016?
Something like that.
I mean, it's kind of insane. Like, he doesn't go out of his way to hurt people. Or like, he doesn't need to do that. He's better than you already. He doesn't need to hurt you. He doesn't need you out of the game. He barely extended his arms. I mean, before he got to Embiid, he was probably, I don't know, half a arm's length away. Like, he pushed him, but, I mean, I just don't think Embiid has very good feet. I mean, hasn't he been out for a long time with, foot injuries in the past?
Correct. You are correct.
His balance obviously isn't that great. If somebody pushed me like that, I mean, it wasn't like he was in complete midair. He was barely off the ground for how big he is. He was barely off the ground. I don't think it was dirty at all.
And listen, they called it a flagrant 1, which LeBron did have both arms extended, which that's part of the rules. And so, yeah, sure, give him a flagrant 1.
Yeah.
There was no intent. If LeBron wanted to shove you, he would have shoved you. You know what I mean? If he really wanted to hurt you, and we know LeBron isn't like that. Now, if this is, one of the Morris brothers, as we know, they throwing the basketball off somebody's head before in a game, or if we're in the NFL and Vontaze Burfict is coming at you, 1, you better run away because he's probably going to want to kill you. 2, we know who dirty players are in the league. LeBron James is not a dirty player. But I just thought it was interesting that Embiid decided to talk after they give the Lakers their first road loss. And hey, the Sixers are 13-6 and the number 1 seed in the East right now, Jordan. Are they the team to beat?
How weird is it that they are 13-6? I mean, I find that incredibly weird. Not only that, I find it really strange that they were able to beat the Lakers last night. Tobias Harris, big shot, but I mean, the Lakers have been playing really, really, really good basketball. That's a good win for the Sixers. Doc Rivers doing a great job. I mean, I've never thought of Doc Rivers as a below average coach. I've always thought of him as an elite coach, just someone who struggles to communicate with certain types of players, obviously, because, he's been up 3-1 in 4 conference finals, right? I think he's blown 3-1 leads throughout his career.
He's blown those 3-1 leads. That is correct.
So obviously there's some disconnect he has with his athletes, maybe in the postseason or maybe some particular athlete. Overall, I mean, he's an above-average coach. But I am really surprised how he's been able to really get Embiid and Ben Simmons going. This is the best they've looked in a long time. I don't think the Sixers are the best team in the East. I still think the Boston Celtics are, especially with how great Jaylen Brown's playing. Jaylen Brown's averaging like 27 points a game. That is what the Celtics need for them to get to that next level. I was thinking between him and Jason Tatum putting up, 53? I'm sorry. I was thinking of the numbers. Went to a different universe for a second. We're like, oh my God, what's happening? Yeah, with how good their 1-2 punch is, they have the best 1-2 punch right now, outside of KD, Kyrie, Harden, but a more complete team around them. I like the Celtics.
KD, Kyrie, and Harden did combine for over 80 points last night in their game.
89.
But let's talk about a player that is balling out right now in the NBA, but Jordan can't get a win. for his team. Bradley Beal, in his last 6 games, has scored 60 points in a loss, 41 points in a loss, 34 points in a win, 31 points in a loss, 33 points in a loss, and last night dropped 47 points in a 124-106 loss to the Pelicans. Wizards are now 3-11. Jordan, last night, Bradley Beal was asked if he's frustrated. His response was, "Is the sky blue?" I'd say he's frustrated. Yeah. Wouldn't you be frustrated? And should Bradley Beal do what a lot of other players have done and request a trade?
I don't think I've never seen a player put up like such inflated stats in the NBA and not be able to win any games. Like it's really crazy how great he is on the offensive end, but his teams never win. He even has Russell Westbrook right now. Not that Russell Westbrook is playing well. I mean, through his first 163 points, he had 163 shots. So not that he has help, but I feel it's incredibly strange to me that he can't make anybody on his team better. He can't make anybody. Like, the only person he helps create plays and get the ball inside the hoop, Mitch, is himself. He doesn't help anybody else outside of himself. It's really weird. I don't get it. I don't understand. It's like Deshaun Watson this year, where Pro Football Focus said he was a top 5 quarterback, but he had 4 wins. Like, how are you a top 5 quarterback and your team has 4 wins, right? Like, it's weird. I don't know how you see it, but
I'm right there with you, because if you're a great player, you make players around you better. It's as simple as that. Now, granted, I'm going to compare him to the greatest of all time, LeBron James, but LeBron James has taken the single-handedly worst NBA Finals team to the finals, like in 2007. That is the worst team to ever make the NBA Finals, and he single-handedly did that. I'm not saying Bradley Beal's LeBron James, but Daniel Boobie Gibson, one of your all-time favorite Cavaliers, had a game to remember, Game 6 in Cleveland.
I was there.
I know you were there.
32 points, right?
Hella threes. That's all I remember.
It was like 7.
But it's really weird that he can't make players around him better. And that is why I wonder if teams haven't tried to pry him away from Washington yet, or if Washington straight up isn't going to trade him. Like, I mean, they don't have to. That's the thing. They don't have to trade anybody. But there's plenty of teams out there that would like Bradley Beal. Do you think he's traded before the deadline?
I think you keep Bradley Beal. I try to get Russell Westbrook off this team, though. If you can. I think Russell Westbrook is going to jump to 5, 6, 7 more teams before he's retired. I don't think he'll ever. He's going to end up having over 10 teams, no doubt, because I don't think he's going to be able to work with anybody. I hope they get him out by the break and see if they can get Bradley Beal some help. But I don't know who's going to trade for Russell Westbrook. I haven't really thought up a trade of where he could possibly even go. But you definitely don't trade someone who can put up 60 points and who's averaged over 45 points for the last 6 games. You don't trade that guy. You try to get that guy help, or I don't know, help him become a leader so he can make people around him better. I mean, that's how Tom Brady got to the Super Bowl this year. Tom Brady is an average quarterback at best right now, but he has intangibles that makes it work. Bradley Beal is a young guy. He needs to learn. I say you keep him.
I agree he needs to learn. I'm not sure what's going to happen, though. There's teams out there, and my first thought is, if the Nets were to get Kevin Love, do the Lakers call Washington? Do the Lakers put a package together of Kyle Kuzma and some other guys and send it to Washington to get Bradley Beal to form the team that's going to compete with the Nets, even though I still think the Lakers are the favorite here? I mean, you understand what I'm saying here. Yeah. Do they do something like that?
It could. I'm not scared. Like, if I'm the Lakers and the Nets get Kevin Love, I'm not worried at all. First of all, they can't afford him, so it's not going to happen, right?
Right.
Lakers need to completely stay put. I don't think Pelinka has done an unbelievable job in LA, and I don't think he could have put together a more perfect team. They need to stay put. I think they have LeBron's teams early in the season typically don't look this good ever. Typically he's just shuffling cards for a long, long time, Well, until the trade deadline, basically, and then he rolls with that team. And even late in the season, his team always picks up a couple guys who weren't playing for anybody at that point. Last year was J.R. Smith and Deion Waiters. But this is a complete team. I don't think they're going to move anybody. Barring any injury or anything, I think this is the team they finished the season with.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think this Lakers team is good enough to win the finals over anybody, but we'll have to wait and see. Jordan, our last headline, something fun. It is sports related, though.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Hawk pulled off a 720 the other day at the age of 52 years old. Jordan, one, that's impressive. Two, what do you think you're going to be able to do at the age of 52?
Man, I don't know. I hope I can still run some of these ridiculous races I still run at 52. That'd be pretty awesome. Tony Hawk is such a cool dude. I was watching a podcast with him not too long ago. Are you too young to play all his games on like Dreamcast and stuff and PS2?
I never had it personally, but I had played it before at friend's house, and I remember.
Oh my god, it was something. But we have our guest sitting in the green room, Mitch. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't. I was unaware. I was waiting for you to give me the heads up, and I'm glad you did. So I guess I should give our guest the proper introduction and welcome in Coach Gamble, who has been at the helm at Jackson High School now for 9 seasons, boasts a 211-53 record, and their last loss, has 54 straight league wins. Their last loss, I was actually on the team when that happened, so I'm sorry, Coach, back in 2015 to Lake. But, Coach, I can go over the resume all I want, and the show would probably add another hour. Either way, we'll put it like this. One of the best coaches in the state of Ohio for high school baseball right now. And we welcome you in to talk baseball today.
Wow, that's a big applause. That's what happens when you go 211-53. Coach, thanks for coming on. This is pretty awesome.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we don't have his audio coming in. And guys, that was in just the last 9 seasons. 211-53. That's unbelievable. Let's see if we have his audio back now. Lost him. Might need to try to bring him back in a second. There he is.
Still technical difficulties. That's okay, though.
We're going to try to bring him back in. All right, Coach, if you want to go back to the link Mitch sent you, and we'll bring you back in. Let's see if that works. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see if we bring him back here once he comes back.
I love the technical difficulties we always have.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you have the person who's doing the control room also speaking. If we had a third person to cover your balls, Mitch, this might be a little easier, but there's only 2 people covering all these balls. That's a lot. So, anywho, let's pick up while we're waiting for Coach to come back in here. Let's run
through the resume.
Yeah.
He has won 6 straight Federal League titles dating back from 2014 to 2019, 6 straight Canton District Championship titles from 2014 to 2019, 2-time Division I state champion in 2014 and 2017, 2-time state poll champion in 2016 and 17, 6-time Federal League Coach of the Year, 4-time Stark County Coach of the Year. And he's back now. Let's hope we get the audio this time.
Let's hope so.
I
don't know, Mitch. I can't.
We'll get this figured out. Don't worry.
We'll make this happen. I don't understand why this isn't pulling up like this, though. Never happens like this. Hey, Coach, if you just want to go with no headphones, let's see if that's it. Let's just try to rock no headphones. Can't believe there's 7 people still rocking with us right now. We have 7 loyal people. There we go.
There it is.
What's going on, Coach?
Coach G, welcome.
We're going to make this work. We got 7 loyal. Look at this.
The people want to see and listen to the man.
I do.
And people that are listening to on a Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you're going to listen to the man here in a second. We're getting the technical difficulties figured out.
You guys got me?
Yes, now we got him.
This is turning into this is difficult, man. I'm glad baseball isn't this hard.
Oh, well, it doesn't seem that hard over at Jackson, Coach. And welcome. First off, welcome in now that everybody can hear you. And you good?
All we're doing is I can't hear you guys. All we get is
How about now?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey.
All right, perfect. Jordan, I'll let you welcome in then.
Coach, thank you for coming on. I'm really excited. I've seen you obviously at some baseball games because I've come to watch Mitch play some baseball games. So we appreciate you coming on and helping everybody cover their sports balls today.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Just like baseball and a little rain delay, we'll make it work though, right? We'll work through.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Coach, we have plenty to talk about, and I know when I talked to you yesterday, we said we'll get into, baseball at all levels and Major League and the Hall of Fame, but let's talk about what's going on right now in the world as you guys are getting ready for your spring season. And we know last year your season was canceled because of the pandemic. So I know Jordan and I have some questions. So first off, what's it like right now for you guys, you and the coaching staff?
That's a great question. I think for a lot of coaches, we're just itching to get back with our players. We were talking about it in our coaches meetings, but if everything stays status quo and the spring season does play out, I mean, it's going to be like 22 months since some of us have coached, our players. So there's a lot of question marks for a lot of teams just because you just have that disconnect. But the players are working hard. They're ready to get back. There's that. It's starting to feel a little bit more normal for us. So that's good. That's real good.
Jordan.
Oh no, when I've thought of all the sports seasons that have happened, you know what I mean? We got this deep into the NFL and all these other sports seasons. I think it's amazing that we're still playing. I'm just grateful that the kids are able to still play. What's been the biggest challenge for them in this whole process of COVID? Because I know that you as a coach face different challenges than they do because you're just at different places. What do you think the biggest challenge for athletes in COVID's been?
Not knowing. That's the biggest thing, just not knowing. And I think that's not knowing what tomorrow looks like. I think that's the biggest thing right now. And I think we all appreciate being together when we're able to do some group work or get in the weight room type stuff. And, but not knowing, I think we all want to plan. We all want to know our next step, and just living in the moment's been a really big deal for us, but not knowing what tomorrow's going to bring and having it ripped out, having yourself, having that spring season gutted from all the way up, all the way from the NCAA all the way down to us. I think it really humbled everybody. But at the same time, I think we got some hungry dudes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mitch.
I was going to say, that's good. And that's one of the things I was going to ask you. And Coach, from my time playing for you, in 2015, we lose and you use that loss as motivation. And you've seen it in 16, we lose again. In 17, you come back and win the state championship. What's it like for the kids now, not having a whole season to use anything as motivation? Is it for them to prove something to not only you, but themselves as well after not playing baseball for, like you said, almost 22 months?
That's it. I think it's to prove and carry on for us. It's about that tradition, and I think you hear, Mitch, you might know a little more, but, we talk about where this is where tradition meets championships, and these young men understand the expectation, and there's no more pressure on them than we put on ourselves. And I think any elite program or any program that puts themselves in those type of categories will put that type of expectation on themselves. So these guys understand it. We talk a lot about having blind faith, and right now our players, because these guys were sophomores and freshmen for the most part, with a hand, that were on JV and freshmen, they have to have blind faith in our plan and our process, and they're doing it. They're buying in, and I think they're laying that foundation. So that's exciting. as we start seeing around the corner, being able to break camp.
Mitch?
I was going to say, and Jordan, this is something we touched on. We were talking about things to ask him. Blind faith, but you can look back at the track record you've had as a coach and the success that the teams have had over the past season. And Jordan, I'll swing this over to you. You wanted to touch on the record of Jackson over the past past 7 seasons when it comes to Federal League games, Jordan.
Yeah. And the reason in particular is because you've had 50 straight league wins. That's incredible. League play is so much harder than out of league play or out of conference, specifically when you're in a league like the Federal League, coach, that is one of the best leagues in all sports in all of Ohio. And Ohio has some of the best athletes in the country. So you're going against really good athletes all the time. Is there anything you preach different to your team when you're playing a league opponent as opposed to an out-of-conference opponent? Is there anything that you really make sure you drill into their minds before you play a team like Hoover or Glen Oak?
That's a great question. For us, I think it's a complex answer. I think we build our schedule to be as competitive as you can. So those non-league games, those non-conference games for us, really elevate when you're playing. The Hudsons, the Strongsvilles, the Iggy's, the Eds, those type of guys for us all the time, and the Walsh. You can keep name dropping, but I think those prep us for tournament and prep us for league play as much as we can. But we all know you want to win those backyard games. I mean, these guys all grew up playing against each other. They know each other's families, so those are for blood, and those are the ones where these guys lock in and get that tournament atmosphere. We try and create that tournament atmosphere as much as we can, especially on our league days. But I think that's the buy-in, and I think that's the foundation we saw from those first couple of years I was here, and the 14 crew and 15 crew and the guys that Mitch came through. They've laid that foundation for these guys and the expectations, because a lot of these guys, not only were they on the JV or freshman team, but they're standing outside the fence looking through the net, watching these guys do it. So I think it's a tribute to the alumni and our coaching staff who they got to grind, man. You got to grind, you coach for me. So I think that's the expectation that's been laid here, and we're just trying to carry that tradition.
Yeah, I think that is as great as your win to loss record is, 211-53. Honestly, the 54 straight league games. You would think by just sheer luck you'd lose one of them. Like in baseball, to win 54 league games, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. And there's only a couple schools in a couple different sports that put up numbers like that, Coach. So obviously, whatever you're doing, you're getting complete buy-in. I think it's pretty awesome.
No, I appreciate it, man. And I think that's the buy-in of one game and winning each inning and those type of things, but keeping it really simple and letting them play fast. I think those are just the buy-in things that you're seeing. You're seeing that on the field. So again, tribute to these guys in the off season, and what they're doing. And that's laying the foundation so we can go out there and just unleash it.
Yeah.
For sure. And Coach, another thing you've done is you've sent a lot of guys to play at the next level, which is where I want to take this. So and I don't have the exact number. I just kind of browsed over the list on the website. So for the sake of that, we're going to go 55 plus guys since you've been at Jackson have gone on to play college baseball. As we know, there's in the MLB and even college baseball now with the uncertainty of what's going to happen this year. But Coach, there's this narrative right now that baseball in the MLB is losing fans and it's losing interest. And there's starting to be a trickle-down effect, maybe not so much the major programs in college, but to the smaller D1s and all the way down D2, D3. Do you have any rhyme or reason or a belief on why that's happening right now? And do you believe that baseball, or what people are saying is dying? Do you believe in that?
That's the thing. Like, it's hard because here's the thing. I love college baseball. All right. I think it's at its purest form. I think you have the most elite talent playing for all the right reasons, and I was sitting down with one of my alumni recently, and we were chatting about it and how the different levels of what you really play for. One of them's a business, one of them's playing for your team and all these. So all those different factors come into play. And I think, the length of the game, and you can put about 10 factors in there at the professional level. There's so many of them. There's so many other things to do. But for me, we concentrate on trying to get our guys to college, because I think that's where the purest and the most elite level of baseball is being played for the right reasons. And I'm not saying baseball MLB is wrong, but I just think it's the purest level with the best talent. So for me, and for us to watch those guys play at that level, that for me is like that proud papa moment.
So, and as we're talking about this, there is so much debate on how kids should be taught to play baseball. Right now, the hot thing in the majors is launch angle, hitting the ball to the park. I was telling Jordan off the air earlier, when we went to Munson, you wanted that ball hit hard on the ground, because at Munson, it was getting caught 95% of the time. Where are you with that? Are you still hit the ball hard on the ground? Are you adapting to the launch angle? Like, what is your philosophy now when it comes to all the different opinions on how to play baseball?
Good question, man.
No, you said it. You're nailing it right now. The difference is you gotta number one, understand your philosophy and what you're really trying to do. For us in high school, you gotta remember that high school baseball plays with a dead ball and a dead bat. Okay, so I know you can say, well, we have smaller athletes in general, and then to get to what everybody wants to do, everybody wants a dog pile at that minor league park, and hold up that big trophy. Well, to get there, you got to go through a bunch of minor league parks, and all of them have big fences. They have a lot of outfield. So for us in our style, especially when he went to that dead bat, in the last 10 years, and then, our ball doesn't carry like the college ball. So if we're losing 15 feet with the ball, we're swinging these dead bats. To go out there and hit the ball and launch angle it, it is important. Don't get me wrong, but we're really trying to get our guys to backspin those doubles. And if we can do that, we can run fast, turn left, and get guys home. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to teach them the right way to do it. But from a product-driven society, in wins and losses, we're trying to touch home more times than the opponent. So for us, we got to figure out how to do that in our environment. Now, hey, if I'm coaching college guys and I got some big donkeys that can swing the pole like Mitch over there, I might be having a different angle to it. But, right now, with what we're running out there and the style of play you have to dogpile in these minor league parks, it's really fit the style of play where we can stay aggressive and make the other team, put pressure on the other team. So that's really where we attack it. We talk launch angle. We have all the blast motion sensors going. We have all the different gizmos and gadgets and all these things way above my clearance level. That's why I got smart assistant coaches. But all of that's great and all. But at the end of the day, can we spin the ball? And can we touch home more times than the other team?
It's a good question, Mitch.
Thank you.
Solid. And a good answer.
That's a great answer. Let's spin off that then, Coach, and let's go to really what people are saying is dying, and that's Major League Baseball. And there's plenty of reasons for why it's dying. And, playing for you, it didn't matter how big you were, whether it was me or other guys my size, you had to bunt. And in baseball, they don't really play small ball anymore. And it's resulted in the most strikeouts the game's ever seen for hitters, and then pitchers having career numbers with pitching and strikeouts. Do you think that's a lost art in the Major League Baseball? And then after that, do you buy in just strictly MLB that the launch angle is killing them right now? Or is it something else that's driving fans away from baseball?
Well, there's a lot of layers of that question. Great question. I don't know if we have enough time. When you're talking big league baseball, those guys got to balance making money, and they don't make money by drag bunting. Okay. Mm-hmm. They make money by getting RBIs and backspinning that ball. So, if you were given those type of parameters, you're going to try and spin it, and you're going to try and put the ball out there. I think that's where the average fan has become disinterested is the swing and miss, and the swing and miss, and the pitchers have just gotten so much better. They're bigger, faster, stronger. You're seeing guys who are 95 to 100 all the time now. That's just average.
That's ridiculous.
So you're seeing that all the time. So these guys are running into it, but it's all or nothing swings. I do say watching playoff baseball is masterful at times because of the switches that have to be made, and the fact that's the only time they actually really try and play to move runners and score more runs than the other team, because that game matters. In pro ball, they just have a different mentality because they have a different outcome. Win, lose, or draw tomorrow, I got to put the ball in, I got to spin the ball. So they have a different level. That's where I say I go back to for me, the college game's the purest right now, but I understand why they're doing it, but that's where they're losing the, that average fan, because they're coming in and it's an all or nothing business right now.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And another reason that I like to think that baseball is losing the average fan, and Coach, I'm not sure what your time's like, but here we can go all day. We don't have a time limit on here. So it's up to you. A reason I personally think that baseball is losing fans and interest is because we might not be honoring and respecting the history of the game as much. And we saw an example of that this week with the MLB Hall of Fame voting results, where they didn't elect a class this year. Nobody got in. We'll just start there. What do you think about that? Is it wrong that the MLB is not letting anybody into the Hall of Fame this year?
All right. So this is a great question. And it's, I think on every TV, podcast, etc. This is one of the hot topics right now. And because and I think a lot of people are doing their homework right now, like myself. I think right now I'm a little frustrated as a avid fan, because the writers have so much control. I think that's where I have, and right now I saw it play out, and I got pretty frustrated, being a history teacher. I'm in that world of, you're teaching civil rights movement, you're teaching, these different aspects of it. And immediately I went to, so we're going to add a moral clause now, to a lot of these guys, which if you just put their baseball numbers in there, and we get the steroid era, we get all that. It's frustrating as an avid fan, because you're seeing a guys, that should be and need to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm biased, don't get me wrong. How Omar Vizquel, is coming out where he's at. Some of those guys, again, the steroid era is clouding it. But my problem right now is you got to judge it by the era you're in. So those guys that are coming in right now are coming out of the steroid era. I don't know how else to judge them. I'm
Right.
comparing them against each other, because I can't compare closers who took 2-3 inning guys versus guys that are 1 inning guys like Billy Wagner. How do you compare those guys? So I got to compare them against their era. But I feel like right now is the moral clause is being played a lot, and what they're doing or not doing, outside of the game is playing a major role. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but right now that's playing, that has too much weight, because I'm pretty sure of those 400 and some riders, I'm pretty sure that, they've made a bad decision here or there too.
Coach, how bizarre is it that you can cheat in your sport and no one will ever look at you the same, but you can do some pretty heinous crimes off the field? We'll throw out Alden Smith. I think he's had 4 cases of domestic violence, and he's still playing football to this day. Like, isn't that the hypocrisy of just, and how do you find that strange that these journalists who don't play baseball at all, who've never played at an elite level, they don't know what it's like to be a professional at all? Don't you find that strange that they're the ones that get to pick the people who've performed on the field to get into the Hall of Fame? Like, shouldn't we change the system at this point?
I'm with you. And that's where, here's the thing. When I'm watching a little Baseball Tonight or MLB Network or whatever, if Tim Christian speaks, I listen. You know what I mean?
Every time.
And he did it. He knows it. So when he speaks, for me, I'm going to shut up and listen and be all locked in. And he's a guy that's covered it forward, backwards, up, and down. So if he's willing to vote yes on some of these guys, I got real problems with some of the other guys that aren't, and some of the guys are leaving ballots empty. I mean, come on, man. Let's just do your job. I mean, that's day one stuff. So that stuff's frustrating as a fan of the game. And it's hard to fathom that. You look at, again, I get back to the moral clause. We're gonna hold, Curt Schilling accountable for all the things that he's doing off the field right now after his career. And I'm sure that's playing a role in, and I'm not saying it shouldn't, in a sense of if you like the guy or not, but let's just sit down and look at the sheer numbers. And he's coming up, 14, 16, 20 short. That I'm baffled by that. I'm baffled by it. Mm-hmm. Irrelevant of his beliefs, off the field and after the game. Because if you want to talk hypocrisy, go back and look at who's in the Hall. I mean, how many guys kept African Americans out of the game and they're in the Hall?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Ty Cobb was one of the dirtiest players, maybe,
that's
borderline racist players there is. And he's in the hall, and we consider him one of the icons. So the hypocrisy a little bit there is frustrating. It's frustrating for the fan.
Yeah.
Right. And my whole thing is, if I'm fortunate enough, 20 years down the road to be married and have kids, and I go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, I'm going to have to show them Hank Aaron, all-time great, but technically second all-time in the home run record. And if somebody asks me, well, who's first all-time? Well, they didn't put him in because he used steroids. But in your mind, Curt Schilling, by the way, is one of the best, if not the best, big game pitchers in baseball history. The things he's done on the field are just, some guys are never going to be able to get close to that. He should be in. For you, should Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire and those guys that really put baseball on the map in the 90s with the home run derbies in games, should guys like that made baseball fun, even if they did cheat, should they still be in the Hall of Fame? Because, Coach, what I tell people is you can take steroids to make you hit the ball as far as you want. Hitting a baseball is still pretty hard.
No, you hit it. Here's the thing. Those same writers that are keeping them out were the same guys making a ton of money on the front page of every newspaper across the country when you were having the home run race. And we all were peeled, at the TV watching it happen. So for me, it's a hard one because, Barry Bonds isn't that hard for me because if you knew Bonds and I got a chance to watch, I'm a little bit older, but what Bonds did with the Pirates, to me, phenomenal. When you look at Bonds's the walk percentages, and when you look at his eye in the about not just the home runs, those are elite things. Like his swing to home run ratio is on a whole nother level. If he hits it, it's going. That has nothing to do with whatever was in his body. You know what I'm saying? That's the style. That's his makeup. So for me, those portions, it's a tough question because morally we all know. Like we can sit down and say, but we all know they cheated. But how many other guys cheated and didn't get caught?
Right.
And technically they didn't get caught. So let's you know what I'm saying? I'm curious to see what they do with A-Rod next year because A-Rod's going to come out and A-Rod's going to he already admitted he did it. But he came, somewhat out front, but, we'll leave that alone there a little bit. But he came out. It was known. I'm curious how they're going to handle him. To me, those guys go in. Do they go in with an asterisk? Okay. But they're still some of the best players that have ever played the game.
Going off Alex Rodriguez, I'll be quick, Mitch. We were talking about that off air, Coach, about Alex Rodriguez. I think he definitely gets in because I think he's back in the fold right now. And it really is a popularity contest. How can you write? You can't tell the history of baseball without Barry Bonds and without Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling was the best pitcher in baseball for 2 years. He had the most wins, 2 consecutive seasons. That's unbelievable. If you're the best at your position twice, back-to-back years, that'd be all pro in football, right? You'd be in the Hall of Fame for that. I don't know how you write the story, Mitch, without Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. You know how many Mark McGwire Nerf bats I had? I used to absolutely love baseball so much more than I do today. And it's because it was just so exciting. It was so exciting. And we have to figure out a way to get individuals who don't play the sport to vote on things like this. Because I believe this matters. I believe in honoring the people who've really, done leaps and bounds for the game. And you really can't do that if you're not putting the people in who should be put in.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you just got to be authentic and tell their story. What's wrong with calling this a steroid era? And they know they're going in. You're going in the dead ball era, and you're putting guys in. In the dead ball era. What are we going to be saying about this era, the power pitcher era? And the tougher things you got to look at when arms like I'm trying to figure out a guy like Billy Wagner. You know what I mean? If you look at his numbers, how do I compare him to a guy that was a 2-inning pitch type guy? How do I compare, in 10 more years when you get into more of the bonus baby type guys who were limited innings and limited W's because we're playing analytics? What are we going to do on those guys when those guys go in with maybe not as many wins because they played for the Rays and were yanked in the 5th inning, for matchup reasons? So they're going to come out with 20 less wins or 15 less wins. Are they better of a pitcher? Again, because of that era you're in, yeah. I think you got to judge them within that era.
The context matters.
They were. Yes, absolutely.
Context matters for sure.
Absolutely.
Really good point.
And there's 2 points I'll make. And one, I'll start with this since we were talking about the voting. Jeff Passan of ESPN, coach, I'm sure you know who he is. I didn't realize he is as old as he is, because to be a Hall of Fame voter, you had to have been writing baseball for over 10 years. Jeff yesterday came on another show and announced that 3 years ago, he gave up his Hall of Fame vote because he doesn't agree with the process. Do you think that it's going to take more guys like Jeff to do away with their votes and say, no, I'm not interested? Or is this going to have to be something we wait on and unfortunately wait till these writers can't vote any longer due to age? Like, is this going to?
That's a really good question. I think it's going to have to be more of a grassroots movement, to be honest with you. And I think the players are going to take a stand. You tell me if all the players take a stand and they all say, take me off the ballot until we switch this. I mean, look what you saw in the NBA, right? Look what you're seeing in the NFL. If the players come back, and some of them are going to have to be willing to fall on the sword a little bit, but if they come back and say, we want a different system, we want more of a voice in who's in the hall or in who's in Cooperstown, you see that type of grassroots movement, you're going to see change. And until then, all you're going to see is water cooler statements. You know what I'm saying? That's all you're going to see right now because, look, man, those guys are going to have a vote until they die.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
One person that is not in the Hall of Fame, and it's not because of steroids, is the all-time hits leader in MLB history, Pete Rose. Coach, does he belong in the Hall of Fame?
Simple answer is I'd say no. I'm going to stay with the no because this is the one where I'm not going there because proven that he bet on. There's certain things you for me. There's certain things, and that's one where you're betting on how you're gonna if you're gonna win or lose. That's a hard one for me. That's the one right there that probably would be the one that for me what I would keep out at some point. I think he probably will get in, but if I had to draw a hard line, but you could sell me and make a case of Pete. I mean, nobody's going to stop the numbers. It's going to be the arbitrary fact that you bet on your own. You bet on your sport. You bet while you're playing it. That's a tough one to sell for me. But if I had to take a hard line, I'd say no. But if he gets in, I'm gonna. He deserves to be in because of his numbers. And numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. So for me, I know it's a bit hypocritical, but for me, that's the one that I just don't know if I could, on 9 ends, because that's a tough one. That is a real tough one.
Well, luckily the baseball writers aren't here to take your opinion into account for when they're voting.
You see both sides. Most people either see one side, coach, or they see the other. You see both sides. A lot of these journalists are making all these decisions emotional, right? And that's why they're making poor decisions by not. But I don't understand how you shouldn't get a vote if you choose to not vote. This isn't like the U.S. election. That's not how this works. You know what I mean? You should be required to vote. But yeah, coach, not many. I don't think a lot of individuals who are journalists think like the way you think, or Mitch thinks, or I think, to where it's probably not. It probably wasn't the best thing for him to do. But if he gets in, I mean, he was still great. And I feel like that's how all these guys should be viewed. Because I fell in love with baseball in this era. I don't care that they cheated at all. They didn't hurt anybody else. They didn't hurt anybody. I mean, they're entertainers. They get paid a lot of money. They're on TV every night. Doesn't bother me a little bit. A little bit. Except the Astros. That bothers me. The
Astros bothers me.
It does me too, man. I'm not going to lie.
That's a little different.
Maybe I'd probably take that one a little more personal. But, again, coaching the game and playing the game and cheating the game. I mean, it's one thing picking signs, and it's one thing communicating it the way they did. But I think I'm more disappointed not in that. I'm more disappointed in the fact that there was nothing done. They were just left alone. How that trophy wasn't taken away, how there was no ownership of that. I mean, they fired the guys that made decisions that allowed it to happen, but nothing to the players. I mean, then I watch guys get suspended for headhunting afterwards, getting more games than Altuve and those guys. To me, that's weak leadership.
How crazy was it that as soon as COVID happened, they kind of got like a pass and everybody forgot about the Astros? Because that was right before the season was about to start and COVID happened. And honestly, I didn't even tune in to watch an Astros game in the regular season. But had COVID not happened, I'm sure we would have had a lot of time to talk about, like, really build up their games. They really got a pass this last year, especially with no fans being in the stadiums either.
Yeah.
They got a real pass. They got real lucky.
Well, and that's it. Like, I think we wanted to see the reaction. Like, the fan wanted to see the other fans wear them out because they deserved it. And they got a freebie on it. You nailed it. I mean, they got to go into empty stadiums, get wore out on social media, which all they had to do was just turn their phone off and play in empty stadiums, where we all wanted to see that, 27,000 people in there, all, have their trash can shirts on and all just wearing them out. And you saw it this year, even with Tuve. Tuve just, he was struggling. He was on the struggle bus, man. And a lot of that had to do with handling that pressure and being in that world of just feeling that pressure. So I would have liked to have seen it as a fan, and see the heckling, because I think that would have been a little more baseball karma.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I still think they're going to get it this year if fans are allowed in the stands, but that's something we'll have to wait and see. Jordan, I think that wraps up our baseball segment. And Coach Gamble, I cannot thank you enough for making time for us today and hopping on here and talking baseball with us. It was a blast, and hope to have you back on another time.
Yeah, Coach, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate you guys having me, guys. Appreciate you guys having me, man. Appreciate you working through the little technical difficulties.
No problem. No problem at all, Coach.
Take care, guys.
Thank you too, Coach.
Well, that was awesome. That was great. Mitch, good questions. Wow, you really prepped for the show. Those were solid. But I guess when you have a coach of his stature coming on, you got to ask good questions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Got a challenge.
Oh, yeah. He would not have answered a stupid question by me. That's just, I know better. But big thank you to Coach Gamble of Jackson. Hope to have him on again. That was phenomenal. I enjoyed every second of that. Hopefully you, the listener or the viewer, did as well. And once again, however you're listening, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, make sure you're subscribing to us right now. Make sure you're liking this, sharing this, and make sure you follow us on Twitter. If you're watching right now, it's on the screen, our Twitter handles. If you're listening, it's at JWebsterM4 for Jordan and at Mitchell Balla, that's my full name. But Jordan, after that great interview, it's time to have a little fun and wrap up this show. And usually, if you're a loyal listener, you know that we end the show with who has bigger balls. But a few weeks ago, we had a phenomenal idea from longtime listener Tyler Egan to have a who has bigger balls bracket tournament at the end of each month. So for those listening and watching, we went ahead and took all the winners of the past X amount of episodes in the month of January, which is 7. And it's time we reveal to you guys the bracket that you will vote on Twitter. And then we will have a winner of the month. And at the end of the year, we'll have 12 who has bigger balls compete for the yearly award of the biggest balls.
Giddy up.
Who has bigger balls?
Mitch, we have 7 contestants right now. Can you tell the audience these 7 contestants we have to work with in the one person who is getting a bye in this bracket?
I can do that. So first things first, this is episode 21. So in the month of January, we had episodes 14 through 20. Jordan, the winner of the number 1 seed, is going to be from episode 16, but also just the entire month of January. Kyrie Irving. For one, not showing up and telling Steve Nash that he wasn't showing up. 2, saying he didn't show up because he didn't feel like it. 3, then saying that it doesn't matter the results of the games, they're still going to be in the finals. And we know what else Kyrie believes. So just that factored into the decision. Kyrie Irving has received a first round bye in the month of January. Who has bigger balls tournament? But Jordan, I will let you announce the 2 and 3 seeds then.
Oh, well, thank you. Florida's a great state. And Florida is even a greater state for crazy men. The last month has been a whirlwind in Florida for many reasons, Mitch. Tom Brady took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Super Bowl, and one of our contestants lit himself on fire when he was trying to light his house on fire. Yeah, our number 2 seed in this bracket is Scott Anthony Mesa from Florida. He may need some. Obviously, he didn't watch a tutorial on YouTube on how to light your house on fire, which is why he caught on fire. Not only did he catch on fire, but the police had no problem taking him in to make sure they got his mugshot. And he still had to go to the hospital, which is great. He's our second seed. Our third seed is another Florida man who is he's a hell of a Samaritan. You know, back in my day, we'd call these people great Samaritans. Oh, man, this guy's a good one. I'm trying to look for his name. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's Mark Anthony Hunt. Mark Anthony Hunt. He is the man who decided to release horses in his area because he didn't believe the horses should be not in cages, but in barns, in stables. So he let them go. And he tried to ride one of them, which is that's a man move right there.
He tried to ride one home.
What's more manly than stealing a horse and trying to ride it home? That's the manliest thing I've ever heard.
It's a big flex.
And he's our third seed.
So, Jordan, I will go ahead and announce the 4 seed. Or should we announce their matchups? What do you want to do here?
I mean, you can if you want. It's up to you.
Well, okay. So the 2 seed will be facing the 7 seed, and that 7 seed is going to be Doug Peterson of the Philadelphia Eagles for benching Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter of Sunday's game. He was the Who Has Bigger Balls winner from episode 14, the first episode of the new year.
And also former coach, Mitch. Remember, he's the former coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. So
Doug Peterson, benched Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter of Sunday's game against the Washington football team and basically allowed Washington to get into the playoffs by benching Jalen Hurts. And ultimately did get fired from Philly and now currently does not have a job. So, Jordan, he is our 7 seed, and he will be matched up with Scott Anthony Mesa. Our 6 seed, Jordan, we're going to make it Curt Schilling from just the other day. For his comments recently leading to the MLB Hall of Fame, voters wanting to rescind votes for him. Like we just touched on earlier in this episode with Coach Gamble, the voters are a little bit too much in their feelings when voting right now and taking things that maybe shouldn't be taken into account, especially when Curt Schilling, 1, didn't cheat, and 2, was the biggest and best big game pitcher in Major League Baseball for X amount of years. So Curt Schilling is the 6th seed who will be matched up with, where's he at? Mark Anthony Hunt, our headless horseman, which means, Jordan, we have the 4 and 5 seed. And at number 4, it's former Mets general manager Jared Porter, who was fired immediately once the report came out after sending pictures of his penis to a female reporter, which also resulted. Oh, yep, there she was. Damn, there she is again. She's still terrified.
Can't believe we had the hot feed from that.
And honestly, I'd be terrified too, especially when Jared Porter texts you 60 plus times without a response.
You think we can get her on Cover Your Balls? Do you think we could get her on Cover Your Balls as a joke, since somebody sent her there? No.
I bet you we could, but I don't think she would, just because of our name. She might take it the wrong way.
Oh, she might. I'm on her team. I'm on her team.
Oh, I am too. Like, that's just, dude, 60 guys. Still, guys listening out there. If you text a woman more than 10 plus times and she doesn't reply, move on. Go download Tinder, download Hinge, Bumble, maybe download Grindr. I don't know what you're into, but guess what? Don't text a woman 60 plus times without a response. Okay, it's a bad look. You're simping. We don't want simps. But Jordan, that was the 4 seed. So 5 seed matching up with Jared Porter is the winner from episode 15. Indians owner Paul Dolan, the cheapest man in Major League Baseball, as the Indians now boast a $28.8 million payroll. And Jordan, fun fact, Paul Dolan is the 4th richest man that owns a baseball team in the major leagues.
Not a fan of you, Paul Dolan. Make no mistake. If you're watching right now and you see this Indian shirt and you're like, oh, he must be a fan of me and my team. No, I'm a fan of your team, not you. Sorry, Paul.
I'm not even going to say his team, because I don't want him to have that team. So Paul Dolan, you suck.
You will not be invited to Cover Your Balls Christmas dinner. Rest assured that.
He's never going to be invited to anywhere.
Your invitation got lost in the mail.
A lot of things are getting lost in the mail right now, just because, COVID and everything.
They are.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. But that's our matchup right now. And guys, here's how it's going to work. We're going to tweet the matchups out on a poll. And underneath the poll, we will have the description of what, contestant or the 2 seed did and the 7 seed did. And we are going to let you guys, the fans, vote. Jordan and I have not discussed how long we're going to leave voting open for. Jordan, are you thinking 24 hours for each one, then we can move on, and by Tuesday we will be able to announce the winner? Or do we want to give it a whole week and come back next Thursday for episode 23
I
of
think
Cover
we
Your
come
Balls?
back next Thursday, so they get a reminder on Tuesday just in case they haven't done it yet.
All right, so this is what's going to happen. The first round will be tweeted out on Friday, January 29th. I'll say tomorrow if you're listening to us live. And what you'll do is go on Twitter at our page, at CYB Live Show, and vote. It'll be a strict poll, and I'll have a 48-hour poll open for it. We'll move the matchups on, and Tuesday we'll remind you, and by Thursday, we will be announcing who had the biggest balls in the month of January 2021.
You love to see it, really. I mean, you absolutely love to see it. Man, we got a lot of good stuff in this show today. Finally covered some baseballs today, Mitch. We really got into some baseballs.
And we're going to cover more baseballs later on down the road. We have a couple more guests lined up. But guys, we have a great week planned next week for Cover Your Balls. And you'll just have to stick with us and stay tuned and make sure you're following us on social media. You're subscribed to us everywhere, and you're on the lookout for episodes, random episodes, Jordan, perhaps, dropping next week with special guests as we get people ready for Super Bowl 55 in Tampa. Thank you for listening to episode 21 of Cover Your Balls. I'm Mitch Balla.
I'm Jordan McKelly.
And we'll catch you next time.
Don't forget to cover your balls. All of them.